As Biden seeks re-election, black voters' dissatisfaction grows. President Biden began his re-election campaign this week vowing to finish the job he started in 2021. No one wants him to do that more than black voters. Long the most loyal Democratic constituency, black voters resurrected Mr. Biden's struggling presidential campaign in South Carolina and sent him to the White House with his party in control of the Senate after 2 runoff victories in Georgia. In return, they hoped the administration would go beyond past presidents in trying to improve their communities, and they listened closely to his promises to do so. Yet some of black voters' biggest policy priorities, stronger federal protections against restrictive voting laws, student loan debt relief, and criminal justice and police accountability measures, have failed or stalled, some because of Republican opposition and some because Democrats have declined to bypass the Senate's filibuster rules. Those disappointments, highlighted in interviews with more than 36 black voters, organizers, and elected officials in recent weeks, leave open the question of just how enthusiastic Democrats' most important group of voters will be in 2024. The interviews point to an emerging split between black elected officials, who are nearly uniform in praising Mr. Biden and predicting robust black turnout for him next year, and voters, who are less sure. "Folks are just tired of being tired," said Travis Williams, a Democratic organizer in Dorchester County, SC. "They're just sick and tired of being tired and disappointed whenever our issues are never addressed." Marvin Dutton, 38, an entrepreneur who moved to Atlanta in 2020 from Philadelphia, suggested that Mr. Biden needed to be a little bit more sincere, rather than pandering to us when it's time to vote. Mr. Biden's re-election bid and his renewed pledge to achieve his first-term policy goals have forced some reflection and frustration among black voters in battleground states. Many believe that the big promises he made to black communities have fallen flat. Democrats can feel confident that if Mr. Biden is his party's nominee, as expected, a vast majority of black voters will choose him over a Republican. But the question for the party is whether Democratic voters will bring the same level of energy that led to Mr. Biden's 2020 victory. In his campaign announcement, Mr. Biden made no secret of the importance of black voters to his re-election. The Biden allies with the most airtime in his 3-minute video, aside from his wife, were Vice President Kamala Harris, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, and the Reverend Al Sharpton. Mr. Biden's allies maintain that his administration has delivered for black voters, but that he has failed to trumpet some of his progress. Since taking office, he has provided billions of dollars for historically black colleges and universities, and he has appointed more black judges, including Justice Jackson, to the federal bench than any other president. Black unemployment is at a record low. The economy, a top concern for black voters, has recovered from its pandemic doldrums, though inflation, which spiked last summer, remains higher on a sustained basis than it has been for decades. The president and vice president have made issues black Americans care most about a priority and are running to finish the job, said Kevin Munoz, a spokesman for Mr. Biden's campaign. The campaign will work hard to earn every vote and expand on its winning 2020 coalition. But there is evidence of a drop-off in black voter engagement during the 2022 midterm election, although the results were broadly seen as heartening for Mr. Biden and his party, despite Republicans winning the House. The share of black voters in the electorate dropped by 1% nationally from 2018 to 2022, the biggest drop of any racial group measured, while the share of white, college-educated voters increased, according to an analysis by the Pew Research Center. The decline in black voter turnout during the midterms could be a warning sign for Democrats, as it suggests that their most reliable constituency may not be as engaged as they need them to be for the 2024 presidential election. Several factors could explain the drop-off in black voter engagement in the midterms, including the ongoing impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on communities of color, voter suppression efforts, and disillusionment with the political process. However, some activists and organizers argue that the lack of progress on key policy issues is a major contributor to this decline in engagement. Despite the Biden administration's accomplishments in areas such as economic recovery, support for HBCUs, and the appointment of black judges, many black voters feel that their priorities are not being addressed with the urgency and commitment they expected. They argue that significant progress on issues such as voting rights, criminal justice reform, and police accountability has been limited, in part, by the administration's reluctance to challenge the Senate filibuster rules. To re-energize black voters and ensure their turnout in 2024, the Biden administration and the Democratic Party will need to demonstrate a renewed commitment to addressing the issues that matter most to this key constituency. This could include pushing for meaningful voting rights legislation, pursuing criminal justice reform more aggressively, and working to alleviate economic disparities that disproportionately affect black communities. Democratic strategists and party leaders are well aware of the importance of black voter turnout in 2024. They recognize that maintaining the enthusiasm and support of this critical voting bloc will be essential for the party's success in the upcoming presidential election. As a result, they are likely to prioritize outreach to black communities, work closely with local organizers, and emphasize policy proposals that address the concerns of black voters. Ultimately, the level of black voter turnout in 2024 will depend on the Democratic Party's ability to demonstrate that it is genuinely committed to addressing the issues that matter most to this crucial constituency. If the party can deliver on its promises and show tangible progress on policy priorities, it may be able to rekindle the enthusiasm that helped propel President Biden to victory in 2020.